Welcome everybody in today's Infoshare on GÉANT Innovation Programme to support innovative ideas. My name is Gyöngyi Horváth. I'm the Community Support Officer from GÉANT, and I will give you a brief introduction first on how today's Infoshare will run. Just very briefly about the GÉANT Infoshares. These Infoshares are created to have a space for the community, for the research and education community to engage and improve the knowledge sharing among us and have discussions on the services, on strategic topics, and in general, just to build a human network across our community, broader community. It is organized by GÉANT's partner relations team and within the community program. All these Infoshares, which are public, most of them are on Wednesday, and you can find more information online. And other Infoshares would be invitation-only events, and they are other weekdays. These recordings are available via the e-Academy, the GLAD website, and also on the wiki pages after the events. And if you have any questions on that, then you can visit the partner relations at géant.org email address and ask any questions. And once again, these meetings are recorded. This is the timetable of our today's Infoshare. So after my short introduction, there will be a welcome part and general introduction from Andreas Dudler from Switzerland, our Swiss NREN, who is also the chairman of the GÉANT board. And after him, Eric Hauser, who is the CEO of the GÉANT Association, will welcome you and also give you a short introduction. Following that, I will talk about the innovation program, introduce it, go briefly through the details. And my presentation will be followed by Claudio Allocchio from GAR Italy, our Italian NRENs, who is also of the chair of the GÉANT Community Committee, who has the oversight of both the community program and the innovation program. And after that, you will have a chance to ask any questions you have after all the presentations, and we will be closing it. So without further ado, I would like to give the word to my colleague Andreas to give the welcome and introduction.
Thank you, Gyöngyi. Dear colleagues from all over the world, it's my great pleasure to be here when we officially start the new GÉANT Innovation Programme. But before I give you some of my expectations to this program, let me say a few words about GÉANT. GÉANT is a membership organization. The members are the research and education networks of Europe. And you see the map shows that we have really a full coverage in Europe. That means we from GÉANT support, and when I say me, I mean all the GÉANT community. We support over 10,000 institutions of research and education, adding up to a total of 15 million users. Next slide, please. But Europe is not all. Let me say very proudly, GÉANT is really in the middle of the world, as shown here on that slide. GÉANT connects to more than 130 research and education networks worldwide. But the world is moving, and research and education is moving fast. Next slide. Yes, thank you, Gyöngyi. So innovation is a key for the future of our community, and innovation itself is a strategic goal of GÉANT. That's what mentioned here on that slide. The innovation program, which is officially announced today, is a new tool to innovate even more. Let me say it's an innovation by itself. The innovation program addresses the whole of these 50 million users. And I think there's a huge potential to bring research and education in Europe further. With that, I will stop here, but you will hear that the innovation program is as lightweight as possible. The innovation program is as agile and possible and as open as possible. I'm really excited about it. We all have the chance to make this program now a success. Thank you, Janji.
Thank you very much, Andreas. And with this one, with our first welcome, I would like to welcome our next presenter, Eric Hauser, the CEO of GÉANT.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Infoshare. It's my pleasure to introduce a little bit further our thinking around this before handing it back to Junji to explain the details of the program. So, GÉANT it's not like GÉANT has not been innovating so far. I think we have, and if I can get the next slide, you'll see that we currently have really roughly 2 innovation tools that we use. We use projects. We have many projects. Last year we had 23 projects running, ranging in scale from several €100,000 up to multiple millions of euros. And most of these projects are funded by the European Commission. These projects are a community effort. We have funds available, but the structure of these programs is, of course, determined by the European Commission's work plans. We no longer have the options there to do open calls, which we used to do in the past, where we could have brand new ideas in it. And so while we innovate in these programs, it's innovation on things that we thought of beforehand. It's not very flexible, it's not very agile. And actually there's no option to fail, and real innovation should have the option to fail, of course. The second way of innovating is our GÉANT Community Programme, and later on in the program, Claudio, who chairs this, will explain more about it. But there we have task forces, special interest groups. It's a very community-driven effort to get together and create new ideas for the research and education community. But unfortunately, there were no funds in that one. So we can create the ideas, but we don't have funds. And that brings me to the next slide. This is where the innovation program comes in. It bridges the 2 of those on the previous slide. It supplies funds to creative ideas, and it introduces, we hope, agility and community-driven innovation program paid for by the GÉANT members and available to the whole of the non-profit community, as long as it's focused on empowering research and education. And we really, like Andreas already said, we really want this to be a very lightweight and program without all the administrative overhead that usually is attached to any program. So, and we really hope that this spawns off really creative ideas, and if it fails, it fails. But we also hope, of course, that every once in a while, one of these ideas really succeeds. And once it succeeds, we will take that idea and then we can move it into a project and make sure there's more funding to develop it further so that it gets available for everybody of these 50 million users that Andreas pointed to. So to develop it further, we have the funds, but to generate these ideas, this nucleus of new ideas, that's what this innovation program is for. And with that, I hand it back to Junji to explain you the nitty-gritty details of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eric. And I will talk about now a little bit in more details on the innovation program. So once again, I'm Gyöngyi Horváth from GÉANT, Community Support Officer. I'm also supporting the community program, and my role will be the program coordinator of the innovation program. What I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to give you a brief introduction on the program itself, talk about the eligibility, the scope and contents of the proposal, give you the financial information, and introduce you the submission process. How was the GÉANT Innovation Program created? As mentioned before by my colleagues, For us, innovation is very important. For the research and education community, it has been always the case that we wanted to support innovative ideas, to support technological evolution, to support our users. Our users are the research and education community. And GÉANT Association has decided to reserve €300,000 for 2021 as part of the innovation program and to invite proposals for research projects. We wanted to keep it simple, to make it fast, to be innovative, for you to be disruptive, and for you just to give it a try. And who are eligible? I think that's the next most important question for most of you who are here. Eligible are the members of the GÉANT Association, the NRENs, the NREN Associates, the staff from the GÉANT Association, and or other legal entities from one of their connected institutions. These are the universities, the research or educational institutes or institutions, when they are connected to a GÉANT Association NRENs. And you can find these links on this slide, but later on you will also find it after the presentation on the chat box. Who are not eligible? The commercial companies are not eligible. So we invite you all, to share the words for other universities, to other researchers, to submit proposals for the innovation program. What is the scope and the content of the proposals? We want you to be ambitious. We want research proposals addressing new concepts, new techniques, with a potential impact for scientific, societal, or economic purposes. For the moment, we are focusing on subject areas or topics that provide that fall within the GÉANT community's remit, and all the results should benefit the broader GÉANT European research and education community. We try to limit as little as possible, but we wanted to ensure that the scope reflects also what we are expecting. Just to give you a few examples. These examples coming from the community program. We had some problems. Our users had issues. For instance, with EduRoam, we wanted to have an easy, seamless, secure access for researchers or students when they move from one institute to another to be connected and online. And then the idea of EduRoam was created, and now it is a secure global roaming access service, which connects over 250 million authentication per month in 101 countries. We also had two other issues for our communities. One was a secure, easy solution for video conferencing. And then we created EduMeet. And now it is rolled out and it is available for the research and education community. And we had another issue, which was accessing remotely tools, services online, and documentations. And then EduVPN was created, which is also an open source free VPN solution for the research and education networking community and their institutions. These are just examples. This shouldn't limit your ideas. The financial information. Per project, we allocated up to a maximum of €30,000. It can be, of course, less, but it cannot be more. And the project duration, what we expect, is to have 3 to 6 months project proposals up to a maximum of 9 months. And the reason for it, because this project is to be ended at the end of December 2021. So all work will need to be completed and invoices submitted by the end of December. It is not essential to have your own resources, however, it can be desired. And the lead partner organization will sign a research agreement with GÉANT Association, and it will be responsible for assigning a budget to any of their partners. How is the submission process? Again, we try to define a very simple process to facilitate the submission of new ideas. On the link above, you can go to the website. All information and links should be available there, and documentation. What is the process? We have developed a very nice document for the guidelines for applicants, which describes in details all the questions you might have, and also give you the introduction, what is expected to be completed for a successful submission. From the website, you can download the application form, you complete it, and then after that, you can go to the GÉANT event management system Indico, where you need to either log in with your federated account or register, and then you upload the completed proposal via Indico. How the proposals will be evaluated? They will be evaluated after each deadline on a monthly basis. However, we will allocate the successful projects on a first come, first served basis. And you can expect a notification of results within 5 weeks after submission, or within 6 weeks of the maximum when there is further clarification or negotiations are required. The evaluation will be done by subject matter experts. We will make sure that all subject matter experts will sign a non-disclosure agreement, and there should be no conflict of interest. In case of any potential conflict of interest, those experts will remain only in administrative functionality, and they will be not doing the review of those proposals. And if there is any clarifications required, then we will contact you directly. We will contact the lead organization who is submitting the proposal. We define 3 main criteria for the evaluation. The key criteria is innovation and excellence. Then the second was quality and efficiency of the implementation and the management. And the third is the expected impact and value for money. What is the timetable? I think slowly we're getting to the important part of when is the deadline coming. As of today, we open the call for proposals, and there will be monthly deadlines available, and we will run this project until the budget is available. As mentioned before, all proposals will be evaluated on a monthly basis, and you can expect a response 5 weeks after the submission of proposals, or a maximum of 6 weeks. Once a successful project is accepted by the GÉANT Association, successful lead organizations will sign a research agreement with GÉANT within 1 week of notification of success. And in return, what we ask, that's the only key deliverable what we are asking, is a final report of the end of the project period, which is no longer than 9 months. It can show how the expected project results were achieved. You can, of course, submit more deliverables during the project phase, but this is the key one. If there is any very successful project at the end of the project, we will be discussing with you how it can be taken any further. And we will also give you a possibility to show the results in an Infoshare, or potentially at our next TNC, which is an annual conference of the GÉANT Association. The first key deadlines. On the beginning of each month, we will have a drop-in session where potential submitters can ask questions about the submission process if they have any queries. And on the 30th of April is the first deadline for submission. And then it will be repeated every month until there is available budget, to make sure that we facilitate new ideas to come into this process. The team currently comprises of myself, who is the program coordinator, and Piotr Pawlowski from PSNC, who is an innovation officer. If you have any questions or queries, you can contact us at innovation@geant.org, or go directly to the website or the web page of the innovation program and ask further questions. With this one, I give the word to my colleague, Claudio Allocchio from GAR, Italy.
Thank you, Gyeonggi, and thank you for being really very, very fast. So we have more time later on for the questions. So I'm Claudio Allocchio, I work for GAR, but here I am the chairman of the GÉANT Community Committee. And if you go to the next slide, which is the only one I have to show you, you will see what the community program is. First of all, I would like to stress what Eric and Andreas and also Gyeonggi already said in the very beginning. This is the opportunity to bring up new ideas and give them a try. And of course, when you have a new idea and you give it a try, you can have a successful result. So your idea is working, and then you get to the conclusion you were expecting. You can have a failure. So your idea does not fly, they don't work, they cannot be applicable, etc. But this is also an information that it is important for the community, because this is the way results does. You try something, and if you fail, you learn something. So if you document something which does not work, that's perfectly okay. Or you can even happen that you start with an idea and you end up into a different conclusion, which is also very important, because you might start to try to fix a problem and you fix something else, which is okay as well. So this is the way we want to be very flexible and so on. Is this something new in the community? No, it's not new, because the example that Gyöngy mentioned before, like EduRoam, EduVPN, or EduMeet, were things which were invented before we formally had the innovation program available at all. There were ideas which came out of the community, because this is the way the community and the community program works all the time. What is the community program? Well, it's a place where we put together the NREN, of course, the Research and Education Networks. We put together the people working for the GÉANT Association, and we put together the users of the NREN, so any organization which is connected to them. And the reason why we exist is to make sure that the users, which are the end goal of all our activities, get a better life in what they do, which is education or research. So what do we do in the community program in general? Well, we try to put together people in a way or another. Some of you which are old enough remember that the motto of the previous organization, which was named Torreno, was networking the networkers. So to bring together people to discuss about networks. Of course, now we do something more wide. We do something which is not only network technology, it is network technology and anything which has got services on top of the network, and anything which uses these services on top of the network to achieve a goal, of course. So this is somehow the broad definition of what the community programs try to cover. The way the community program is organized is, of course, having groups and task forces. There is a slight difference. A task force is supposed to achieve a result and deliver something within a limited time, while the special interest group is, of course, somebody who deals with an argument, with a topic, and keep on exchanging information and ideas. But in practice, they're both the same sort of stuff. People together, we discuss about something and try to achieve a better result, or to create an issue and to try to start a new idea or even new project. As Eric said in the beginning, the projects cannot fail because they're projects. But here with the innovation program, we can fail because we are much more light. And it is, of course, much better that you discover that something is not working in 6 months than that you discover it after 4 years of a project where you're supposed to deliver a positive result. So it is a group of people, networks, but also trust and identity people, specialists in security, specialists in social management, specialists in multimedia, and whatever it is. Also marketing people trying to do the outreach and understand what are the real needs of the users and so on. So in the end, this big community also is not only working by separate compartments. The big advantage of the community program is that we bring together different disciplines as well. So, for example, when we talk about education, of course, we talk also with the multimedia and the security and trust and identity people all together. So teachers can have a clue of what is available for them to do multimedia, but also to secure the student, for example, exams or things like that. When we do multimedia, of course, we try to tackle all the possible application of multimedia in the area that we have. And that is how EduMeet was coming out. EduMeet came out because we wanted a tool for video conferencing, which is fully under our control. And the only way to do that is that you develop it yourself. And that is the way we do it. We did it, and so on. So we also try to do what I call cross-pollination of ideas. We try to bring, for example, a medical doctor together with somebody which does security and somebody which does somehow hearts, because very often they don't know, but they do have common issues that discussing them together might lead to innovation and new ideas. Task forces and things are not the only thing we do. Of course, we also do workshops. When there are a group of people which want to discuss a topic, we try to bring them together. And out of a workshop, very often happens that then you create a special interest group or an activity or a project or an innovation. Eduroam was born in a very, very simple way. There were 5 people which had the problem. I am roaming everywhere and I cannot connect to the network. They asked us, can you give us some money? I remember the money was very, very little. It was 5,000 euro to give it a try. They tried it, say it does work. And then the multimedia task force at that time brought it together with another task force who was about mobility. And then they created the service. So this is what we work in the community program. Is a grassroots organization where people from the users present their problems and we try to fix their problem with a solution. We don't do the opposite. We are not a commercial company. We don't have a solution and we try to find the problem to use the solution for. We do exactly the opposite. We have a problem, we try to fix the problem. And if we don't have a problem, we have information that we want to share among the people and so on. So the current portfolio, for example, includes many others that you already know. So security, identity, privacy, network services, of course, because we do networking, cloud services, not only commercial cloud, also in-house cloud services which are developed into the community for the community, multimedia services, education technology. One of the most successful task forces in the last year was, of course, the TF Education Task Force, because everybody was compelled to stay at home and to do remote teaching. So they had a huge amount of work and a huge amount of results within a few months because they had to do it. Last month, we brought together, for example, the people which are doing e-health. There is a lot of activity about e-health, was a bit uncoordinated, and now we have a clear indication that we need to do coordinated activities in e-health. Another area where we do a lot of work, for example, is for art and humanities, performing arts specifically as well. We don't have a task force on it, but we organize workshop and we bring together people from that community since more than 20 years now. And they do a lot of progress, and they also do technological progress, not only artistic progress and so on. So this is mainly the community program in a few words. This is what I wanted you to tell about. You can learn more about it, of course, going down there and have ideas. And if you go to the next slide, the important message which I want you to show is, is we are the people, we are the world. You remember the old song. We are the one which make it happen. So we try to bring people together and the people ideas together. And this is mainly what we are here for. And this is what the innovation program is here for as well. So to help you to translate an idea in something you can try on the field. It will give you the opportunity to try it on a real networking environment. So not only in the laboratory, but on the network itself. So please join us, please help us, and please come forward with ideas. And hopefully next time we will do it together on a stage again, not only virtually like we are doing it today. So now I think it's time to give it back to Gyeonggi and open the question time.
Yes, thank you very much. I see that we had a lot of questions during the presentations, and I hope that most of them have been already answered, but I want to give also the floor. Please raise your virtual hand if you have more questions about GÉANT, about the innovation program.
Well, I think we could go along the most significant ones as just to give it a bit more space than the one which have already been answered. So, for example, I take on one of the first one which I was able to follow. So, is it just limited to those who are a member of the community? No, because it's a leading partner which has the responsibility to decide who is going to be in his own consortium, in his own little group to organize the results. So, for example, if a university decide that they want to collaborate with some organization which is not in GÉANT or which is out of the community or which is a commercial one, yeah, they can. It's their responsibility to do it. Of course, they need to document how they're going to do it, but that's completely open because we try to organize it in a way that we only talk to the leading partner and nobody else, and then you organize your work as you want.
And also just answering that, oh, okay, this was answered because Alessandro was asking about if it's possible to form a consortium. Yes, it is possible to form a consortium. Small consortium can apply for the funding. Large consortia are not. We are not proposing that. And
if
let's
you're a
see.
large consortium, you don't have enough money because that's little money. So it doesn't make sense.
Okay, more questions. Annabelle, did you read more questions which were not yet answered?
Yeah, hi there. Is a question from Kurt. Don't be shy, Kurt. Do you want to just come online
Yes,
and ask
hello.
a question?
Good morning.
Hi, Kurt. Morning.
Hello. Yes, I had sorry that I couldn't attend from the beginning. I'm only since 10 minutes in the queue now and heard about the presentation of the community program. What is the idea behind? And for me, the most important question is probably in this context, there are open calls, and open calls is a kind of program probably, and we need to understand the submission process for that.
Kurt,
And,
let me stop you. Let me stop you, Kurt. We're not doing open calls. So we did open calls in the past. The thing that we really liked about them,
I know that,
the innovation that came, the ability to work with universities and research institutes and bring new ideas into GÉANT.
Yes.
So that was the good part about open calls. The bad part about open calls, if we're being honest, is that we had to do them within a very tight framework of EU regulation, lots of financial regulations that we had to come to. And so if you had joined at the beginning, Eric was explaining, and I think this is a very important point here, this is not grant funding. So this is money from the GÉANT Association.
Yep.
And so we don't have the rules and regulations of EC funding. So that's the positive part of it. So we can be a lot more open and fund projects which may fail, but that are highly innovative and will benefit our community. So the reason that we're doing this is the same reason we did the open calls. We want to support innovation, but we don't have all the administration and a lot of the regulatory burden that we have. So we're trying to keep it simple, easy. You download the application form, fill it in, 10 pages, and we basically get back to you within 4 or 5 weeks, and you know whether your project will be going ahead or not. So we've tried to keep it very simple and clear.
Yes.
But this is definitely not open calls, Kurt.
Yes. Okay, I fully understand. The application form I can find on the community page, right?
Yes, you can find both the guidelines and then also the application form.
Okay, this is very important because this is the link that Claudio posted on the slides, right?
Yes.
That's the entry point for everything.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Any other questions from the audience? Is there any restrictions to topics that are not in scope? If you want to develop a new farming tractor, then maybe that is not in scope. It is more to have a new innovative idea. We try to really not limit it too much. We try to give you the chance to get your ideas. It should somehow connect to our world, our research and education world. But we tried not to really limit it.
Yeah, during the discussion preparing the rules that are written in the guide for applicants, we had, of course, a lot of troubles in trying to define what it is. But the conclusion, the most clever conclusion we came to is that if we knew already what is new, then we would do it. And then it is not new anymore. So we can't really know what are the broader scope of it. So if you have an idea which has something to do with networking and services about the networks and helping the users come forward, because that is in scope. If you have an idea to develop a chair, for example, which has some network connectivity, which helps you to be present in a meeting, you're not physically there, that can be done. That is applicable for the program, of course. If you just want to develop a nice chair, not, of course, but so it's really difficult to limit the scope. So come forward, just think it has to do something with networking and services about the network, of course. So I see a question about the length of the projects. Yeah.
Can the innovation idea can be linked to an existing GÉANT project?
Yes, of course. They can come from an existing GÉANT project. Well, the way we think is, of course, the other way around. I mean, an innovative idea, if it is really successful, we try them to bring it into an existing GÉANT project. So we try it here, it does work, and then we bring it into an existing one or a new one, because it can lead to a new project as well. On the other hand, all we do in the innovation program is very linked to all the other activities. So also in the evaluation process, if we discover that an idea, it is better placed, for example, in the trust and identity area, where there is also some sort of innovation calls going there, we make them talk to them as well, so try to steer the direction of where it could be done and so on. And so we want to fill the gap. I mean, there's no separation between what the community does, what the project does, what the other projects do, etc. And so we try to bring it together.
Sorry. We have a question from Tim.
Oh, yes, I was just going to follow up what Claudio was saying there, that hopefully many projects will be successful. And I think there is enough agility in the GN43 project that some of those ideas can be brought into that project with the time that's remaining, or into the GN5 that will be starting in January 2023. It sounds a long way off, but I think we should be looking at the linkages here. I think this is a great innovation scheme to test the ideas out, but we need to think beyond which ones are successful. How are they then taken forward? What are the vehicles for getting them out to the community? Because 30,000, it's going to be a great proof of concept, but we need to think about how it's taken on beyond there. So I'll be interested in your thoughts on that, Claudio, how that would happen. But clearly the GN43 or GN5 is one way, but there may be others as well.
Yeah, and the other thing I did not mention while I was talking about the community program in general, this is a powerful way to understand what the community is doing as well. Because looking at what of ideas that come in also tell us very clearly which are the areas where there are issues that we need to fix, or where there are new things which people are thinking of. So liaising between the users and what we do to provide services to them is also an important piece of this project as well. So as soon as we get to the information that somebody is working on that area, it means that that area needs attention from us. And that is the bottom-up way of producing a solution for a problem. So that is also very important. So don't be shy. Come forward and tell us that you have maybe the innovation idea is also, I have an issue and I want to study the issue to find out if there are ways out of it. This is also acceptable, I think. Of course, then we will evaluate from the proposal itself.
So just Tim, also in answer to your specific question, at the end of each project, the main deliverable that we expect will be lessons learned, etc. But there will be a short evaluation at the end where we will have a chat with the proposer and look at what is possible. So we'll do that for every single project and look at where that project's going to go and how it can be taken forward. So we will do that for each and every one of the projects to see what can be done.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And I had also a question in the chat from Jan, if there is a list of previous successful projects on the web. The innovation program is a new initiative from GÉANT. So from their side, there is no. However, there is the open course that you can look at and see the projects from that side. And I have also a hand up from Frederick.
Yes, sorry. I have a question related to what Claudio mentioned. Maybe I did not get it. It is related to how you approach innovation. Usually you have two ways to do that. You have a team that is ready to work on a specific need, a very great idea, but you are sometimes in a position where you just get the need, the idea, but don't have the team. So is it possible, for example, in this program to express idea and then try to have to map a team or resources inside, or should we do this homework together beforehand?
Well, I would say it's better that you try to find the team before, but in most of the cases, well, we made a business case evaluation. In most of the cases, the team will be very, very small, maybe a couple of people, because of course, then you don't have more resources than to have 2 people working for 6 months with those resources. So it is, of course, there is another question in the chat which relates to this one. How do I find my potential partner? How do I find who are the ones connected to the NREN, which I can work to, and so on? Yeah, well, the first answer to this is, well, you contact the NREN itself, and then because they are the one who knows, of course. Some NRENs provide the public listing of everybody who is connected to them. Some don't, for very valid reasons, so they think they should not disclose the user space and so on. So the real way to do it is just, if you don't find on the website of an NREN the list of a connected institution, then you call them and they tell you. But that is a way to find a partner as well. Another thing which was not mentioned, of course, the NREN will be in the loop, of course. Even if the proposal comes from a university, for example, in France, of course, we will call Renater and tell them, you know, there is this good idea from your user over there. And so this will also help to create a sort of partnership list or help increase in number of people around it and so on.
Claudio, there's an interesting question here. Can commercial companies act as subcontractors? And my response is that subcontractors are at the choice and the discretion of the legal entity who will sign the agreement with the GÉANT. So GÉANT will sign the legal agreement with a legal entity who is either an NREN or a customer or a user of an NREN, so a not-for-profit university or research institute, etc. Now, the choice of consortium members and the best people to do the projects will be up to that lead partner, if you will. So we definitely don't want large consortiums, because at 30K you'll spend that money, you know, within a week. But obviously the lead partner, it will be the choice of the lead partner who is best to work on that project. The money will go to the lead partner, and then it is up to the lead partner to distribute that funding in a way that meets the objectives of the project.
There is also an additional point on this. We don't really go into details of understanding how the lead partner decide to spend the money or to allocate the resources. It's really up to them. For those of you who work in education, it is very similar to what Erasmus Plus does in his small and medium-sized projects. The leading partner is responsible for everything, and then they decide what to do. So that is why we want to be very flexible.
That said, Claudio, we will look at we do ask who the partners in the project are in order to be able to judge whether we think that set of partners can undertake that work and has the skills and competencies. So I don't think we want to give the impression that we don't care about who the partners are. Of course we do, because we want to make sure there's competent partners. But as Claudio was saying, we want to keep it simple and very agile and quick and flexible, with you know, minimum admin. That's very much our goal with the entire scheme.
Any more questions from the audience?
Claudio, you're muted. Were you going to?
Sorry, there is one question which we didn't answer, which is about the length of the project from Simone Ferlin. So I didn't understand correctly that the length of the project is within 3-6 months and the maximum budget is 30,000 euro. Yes, that's correct. I mean, the maximum length of any project is 9 months, but in average, we expect to have them 3 to 6 months length. As Gyeonggi said in the beginning, they must finish by the end of December because of very clear financial constraint. Hopefully, we will stop granting new projects before the deadline approaches, because as we get new ideas, 300,000 euro is not a lot. So we expect between 10 and 15 probably successful applications to be approved. And it is quite likely that if there are good ideas coming in September, the money is over. So if you start in September, you have to finish in 3 months because of a financial limitation, this is the budget for 2021.
And maybe just also to say, like, if you, during your project, when you are conducting your project, you already see that it is a successful one and there is a potential chance for continuation, you can already start sending in materials and start discussions with GÉANT about the potential continuity.
Yeah, we don't stop. I mean, the good part of this mechanism is that the people which are also doing the evaluations are the subject expert, which works in many different, well, in all different fields that the GÉANT community is tackling too. So they work in project, they work in task force, they work in groups, they work in the association, in the NRENs. So if something is successful, one of these people will immediately pick it up and try to bring it in a spot for continuation and so on. The other message is, of course, this is the funding that we provide. As Gyeonggi said, there is no need to provide additional funding, but of course, you are not limited and you're very welcome to provide your own resources, which is money, manpower, equipment, whatever it is. And you can declare it, you have to declare it, that I'm bringing in an additional 3 people, which I pay myself, for example, and so on. So it is not limited that you cannot spend in total more than 30,000 K. That is the limit that we give it to you, but you can spend 100,000 if you want. You have to provide the rest by yourself. So that's not a limitation. I think there was also a question from Ank, which I'm trying to recover.
There is also a question about the financial part, about from Aurora, if the project have to demonstrate the cost, financial report, or the payment modality is a lump sum. When you are submitting your project proposal, we are asking you to describe like how you expect to distribute the funding among your partners. We don't ask too many details. And at the end of the project, we would provide you with a lump sum based on the invoices and based on the final report.
Okay, and the Hank question is, I don't understand the April 3rd deadline. If someone submits a proposal on March the 20th, will they get an answer after 5 weeks? Yes. I mean, the mechanism of the monthly deadlines is really a technicality. We decided that to make efficient the evaluation process every month, even if the first time we give it 2 months to give people time to submit proposal, every month we will just say, okay, this is the number of people which applied. Okay, the appoint evaluators, make the discussion, and after maximum 5 weeks, you get a yes or a no. And that's it. But it's a running process. So if you apply on April the 30th, then within 5 months, you will have the answer.
5 weeks.
5 weeks, sorry. If you apply on May the 1st, then you have the full month of collecting the data, and then we have 5 weeks to start the process and so on. So it is a bit longer, but of course, if you try to match the deadlines, you get an earlier answer. But it's really up to us to try to smooth the flow of application in a way that they don't wait too much. So imagine that we have enough application already after 5 days. We might try to organize the first review team earlier to make it happen, of course. We don't have to create queues artificially for that.
And also, if you have any other questions about your ideas, you can contact us via the email. And if needed, then we can try to schedule a separate call with you or with your organization. But in general, there will be again on the drop-in sessions for asking any questions about the submission part. And Alessandro was asking about the criteria for selection. Again, the evaluation criteria was mentioned in my presentation. And the first one was innovation and excellence, and which is the highest and the most important criteria. And all of them are, of course, in details listed in the guidelines for applicants, so you can look it back. There were 3 main criteria.
Well, in addition to this, of course, if you present, like the example that Gyöngy mentioned before, if you know application, you present, okay, I have this problem. This is the way I want to fix it. That is a very good evaluation criteria, of course, because that is something very, very focused on what you want to do. So, and that is, of course, the innovation part is, I want to fix it in this way. And so that is a very important part that you have to describe very well when you propose your idea and your application. I think we also have the answer from RNP from Brazil about SMEs. Let me read it.
Yeah, Annabelle has responded to.
Yeah, Hannibal responded to it as well. So it still belongs to the ones which can I have an SME? Yes, you can, of course, but you're responsible to be a partner. One thing that we are going to do.
Answer the question about TRL levels. So, Wanderson, I presume you mean technology readiness levels.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to double check. Yes, okay. So, Claudio, do you want to answer the question about technology readiness levels?
Yes.
About the, are our expectations for 1 to 2, 6 to 7, etc.
Well, the first thing I would say is that the technology readiness level was the ghost which we wanted to get rid in the rules from the very beginning, because that was a big limitation of the open calls, and the reason why we can't do open calls in the projects led by the European Commission. So there is no TLR level, minimum TLR level. You can start from 0. Well, you should start from 0. Because if you have an innovative idea, nobody has tried it, it's not ready, it's something which doesn't exist. So there is no real TLR, not at all. And we aim to cover the part which, if there is a TLR, you cannot do it. So very low. If you really want to give this scale in mind, well, it's 0 to 3, 0 to 4, even less. But don't think about TLR. This is something which you are not going to ask you. If you're ready to do something, maybe you are more mature to go somewhere else. We will tell you. If you have, for example, TLR 4, well, we will probably tell you, why don't you try to fit into this project and something like that. But TLR is really not the criteria that we are going to use to evaluate at all.
Any more questions?
Well, given that we have many non-European here as well, of course, as Gyöngy said in the beginning, this is a European-led innovation program, but anybody can be a partner of a European partner into it. So you can really work together. If you are from Colombia, you cannot be the principal applicant, of course, but you can be a partner of somebody in Europe. It does not limit you to be there, of course.
Thank you for mentioning that, Claudio.
Thank you, Hank, for pointing out our broken
Yes.
link. We will have a look at that. So that's the link for the guidance for applicants, and we'll get that sorted out. But the pages only went online this morning, so we will get that sorted out straight away. Thanks for pointing it out.
So if there are no more questions.
Well, if there are no more questions, we can tell you that all the questions which we get we go into the frequently asked questions. That is already a living part of the process themselves. We try to ask ourselves a number of questions and give them the answer, but of course, all you asked is going to be into there, and the one which come via email or via other ways to us will be linked into the document. So we try to make it longer and longer and more useful as possible because of your questions and so on.
And we will do the same also after the drop-in sessions if there are questions rising which we don't have it listed in the FAQs.
Well, I noticed that nobody asked the question I was expecting, so I asked it to myself. What about next year? Because this is for 2021, and hopefully we hope to finish the money before summer, because there is enough good ideas to go on. Well, administratively, this was a decision which the GÉANT Association takes every year in November. Last year in November, the association decided to grant 300 kilo euros for this activity. If the activity proves successful, if we have a few ideas which are successful and people are applying for it, of course, the association will try to make it happen again. And it can be bigger, of course, if we discover that we finish the money in 3 months and they are very successful ideas. So we try to get more than 300 a case. It depends on the budget, of course. Or it can be smaller if nobody applies. So it's really very flexible also on the budget side. We try to adapt to what is available. For the moment, this is what we have. If you want more, then you need to prove that you really work on it. And we will try to make it more. If you don't apply, then we will limit it and make it lower. So really up to you.
So I don't see more questions coming. I would like to thank you all and thank all the presenters for today's Infoshare for joining us today. Once again, the recording will be available. I will share with all the registered participants the link to the recording and to the slides. And if you have more questions, contact us and we will find a way to respond either via email or schedule a bilateral call or join us at the drop-in sessions. And the next one is on the 5th of May, the drop-in session. And again, the first deadline is the 30th of April. The end of April is the first deadline for submission.
And even if you didn't know that you are part of this community before, and it is the first time that you join us today, well, now you know. So also contact us in case you need to contact your NREN or to know more of what we do and so on. I mean, this is a piece of the community program, but it's not the only piece. Maybe you don't have a new idea, but you may find your place in a task force or in a group which does already things. So even if you write to innovation@GÉANT.org and the question is not for the innovation program, we will get it to the right people to answer you. So come forward.
And just to answer one more message from Evelina on the link for the rules for applications, the team fixed now and it should work. They just confirm it just now. So you should be able to see the information. So thank you all for joining us today at the Infoshare, and I look forward to your great ideas coming in to the process.
Thank you.
And if you think you only have half idea, well, you may try to drop it to us. We might help you to get the other half by somebody else.
So thank you all and wishing you a very nice rest of the day.